Hi guys, my name's Ashley. I'm transgender, female to male. Um, and I want to get my story out there because this is the most stable that I've been. So I mean, this is like an ample opportunity for me to get my story out there. Um, I lived in Southfield until the second grade, and then I moved to Howell, Michigan. Um, I was painfully shy. Um, Let me think. See, I have stuff written down, but if I just wing it and say from the heart, it probably works best. So, I'm a twin, fraternal twin. Um, and I was the shy one of us. I was always in my sister's shadow. Um, pardon me. Um, I was painfully shy. In middle school, I had short hair and big glasses, and um, basically, I lived in my sister's shadow. Um, as middle school rolled around, my sister would have friends over, and I'd be attracted to them, and I wouldn't know why. I wouldn't know what was wrong with me. I didn't know. I mean, I remember at one point, after seeing the movie Dirty Dancing, I sat with my mom and like, I mean, whenever I'd play house, I was always the big brother. I didn't know where that came from, but I just felt most comfortable in that role. Um, and then one of the neighbor kids had mentioned to me even before like knowing anything about transgenderism or any of that. She had mentioned to me, she's like, well, why don't you see about getting a sex change? And at that age, I mean, I was like, what the hell is that? I mean, we must have been third grade, second grade, even. So I mean, and then I remember sitting down with my mom and being like, well, why couldn't you have had me be a boy, and like as if she had the choice, I mean, maybe now you do, I don't know, but okay, so um, things were okay. I mean, we used to get hand-me-down clothes, but they were more androgynous clothing. You know, God bless mom, she didn't make us wear dresses. I mean, my sister would have been all for it, but me, I mean, wouldn't fit at all. So in that respect, I feel like I was blessed in the fact that, she didn't, you know, gender really wasn't a concrete definition in our house. And I'd say, um, like we were new to the small town in Michigan, Howell, and I remember a neighbor of mine that was a girl had short hair, and I asked my mom, I'm like, Mom, can I have my hair cut short? And she's like, well, as long as you keep your ears clean. So I was like, okay, no problem. So I had my hair cut short, and I had glasses. Always walked with a limp because my Achilles tendons weren't stretched enough. So, um, and I was kind of I was kind of, I don't know how else to put it, a gender fuck from early on. Um, like I remember in, let's see, what grade was it? I mean, I think this happened real shortly after I was even living in house. So, and I remember coming out of the girls' room, and a student saw me come out, and she like yelled across the hallway, "You're in the wrong room." And as long as I had my hair cut short, I didn't use the bathroom at school. I used to hold it all day. And we had an hour bus ride home. And we lived in a house that had a quarter mile of a long driveway. So, and we would have to walk up and down it. Like in the morning, since it was dark, my mom would drop us off. But when we got home from school, we had to walk down that driveway. And I remember my bladder bursting a lot of times, not making it to the restroom in our house. So that went on for years. My mom would ask me, why didn't you use the bathroom at school? And I said, well, I didn't have to go then, and then it just kind of stopped at that. She didn't really, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've been told that like a good mom would sit me down and discuss things, but it just kind of stopped at that, and it was like okay. And in high school, I got into band class to get out of gym because I did not like I tried showering in front of the girls one time and I felt so uncomfortable. So I took band to get out of gym. Um, and everybody like thought my hair was so beautiful. So I kept my hair long to please everybody else. Which I mean, I couldn't stand looking at myself in the mirror. I hated what I saw. And so after being fed up with being made fun of, being what I thought was mistaken for a boy, um, which in hindsight, I mean, they saw what I didn't see when I was growing up. So then in high school, I took drama class. Um, Drama got me out of my shell. I mean, I was painfully shy where I wouldn't talk to anybody. But in drama class, I loved it. I really loved doing ad libs where we would just like make up scenes. And I mean, I really came to life. People could then laugh with me rather than at me, which was what I was used to. And then growing up, I'd buy like New Kids on the Block tapes and, I'd sing around in the basement and dancing, this and that, So, I mean, I've really loved music from the get go, you know. I mean, it's always been my solstice. Like, I'd come home from school and, like my parents were alcoholics, so I would like race by the both of them to go to my room and like shut the door and turn on music. And I mean, like Mariah Carey, Boyz II Men. I mean, I listened to them all. I mean, I was a big '90s music kid, and so I finally, I because everybody thought my hair was so beautiful, I grew it out long, but I barely ran a brush through it. I mean, it was a big rat's nest. And so I mean, I just kept it back in a low ponytail the whole time. I mean, it was a rat's nest. And so there was one day when, like, I mean, I pretty much made my work my social life. Like, I used to work at a fast food restaurant, and like that was my social life. Like, I would joke around, I would be like the clown. I mean, like at first, because my mind was so, pardon me, because my mind was so absorbed by confusion. When I first started at this fast food restaurant, um, one of the managers said, maybe this isn't the job for you. And I was like, yeah, I'll show you, And so I worked at this fast food restaurant on and off for a good 10 years, maybe more. I keep going back. And so let me see. Oh, I was working. So, after I had moved out, like I was 17, maybe 18, I think 18 at the time. And there was this older woman who I moved in with. And, at that point, I was pretty much selfless because, like, my mom would, like I'd say I'd like something, and, my mom would be like, "Are you sure you don't really like that?" So I was confused as all get out, very selfless. I mean, I didn't know which end was up, and so then I like basically um I had hit like a pitfall, and it was kind of like a new journey for me, so to speak. Um, I was so depressed because when I was working at this fast food restaurant, I had a crush on someone that I worked with. And I couldn't explain the feelings. She obviously didn't feel the same way for me, but like I was a confused mess. And all I knew is I had strong feelings for this girl because she showed kindness. Whether it was real or not, I'm not sure. But I mean, let's just say it was, but at any rate, I couldn't explain the feelings. You know, and I was crying, and my mom heard me crying, and I was talking to her and stuff, and she got me a therapist to talk to, and that lasted for about 7 years. Um, First, I mean, I had thought that I was a lesbian because, like, that was the only thing that I thought was possible at that time. I mean, this was what 2000. I mean, there were no transgender people in the public eye whatsoever. Um, so, um, I mean, I remember even, the topic of transgender was brought up to me, and I was like, what, what is that? I'd never heard of it before. And my therapist explained it to me. And, at that point in time, like, I was like, I declined the thing. I just, didn't think that, I don't know, it was something stupid. I mean, like to make a long story short, like my mom said at an earlier age that, your chin should line up with your lower lip. And I brought that into my therapist, and I'm like, well, I can never be a guy. I have too weak of a chin. So, I mean, I don't know. It might be kind of humorous. It's humorous looking back on it because I realize who I am now. And I've always had a deeper set voice. Like before going on testosterone therapy, my voice was always deeper set. So when I worked at the gas station, when I got my hair cut short because it's what I wanted, uh, customers would come in and they'd refer to me with male pronouns. It was like overnight. But the people that I worked with knew me as female. So I worked in the stock area to avoid any interaction with customers because, it was embarrassing for me, it was embarrassing for them. So I just worked in the stock area. And at this time, I met a couple friends through a friend of mine, and they introduced me to a club in Detroit, and um, like they basically I mean, it was totally a different world that I was used to. There was male impersonation, female impersonation, talent night, whatever, like any talent you would, which was mainly, I mean, any kind of performance really. And so I started doing that. I mean, I loved it. I mean, like I did that for maybe 3, 4 years. I used to, um, I mean, it was a great time. I mean, I had so much fun. I met so many people. I mean, at this point in time, I was convinced I was extroverted, which now I'm realizing I'm introverted, which is okay. I mean, it took a while, but I'm okay with it. And so, um, I entered a competition and won, which was pretty cool. And at this point in time, I started going to a broadcasting school, and I took the radio and video portions. And I didn't think much of it. I mean, I was just living life as I was. I didn't think gender would play a big role. I just didn't foresee anything like that happening. But after I attended the school, um, one of the look, my transcript said female. So the instructor that I had referred to me with female pronouns. Well, the students who had been around me, and talked to me, they all corrected her in my defense and said he. Now, see, I felt like crawling into a hole. I mean, I was embarrassed. I didn't know what to say. I was just like, you know, I mean, it was that day that I came home and I was in tears and I was talking to my mom. I'm like, Mom, I have to transition. I have to, you know. And so I called up my therapist and I explained to her that I had to do it. I had to, and so, because she had been able to, or since she'd been, um, kind of, you know, because she was, um, forced, like she was kind of not affiliated, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to say. She dabbled in, I guess, the gender programming at the University of Michigan. And so, like, she had got me in there with a note, and I had started hormone therapy. My voice only dropped, I mean, well, I don't know how much it dropped, but it cracked only once. So, um, yeah, so that was going on. Um, I had many jobs. I mean, fast food, gas station. The latest was a pie company, and I was dating a woman from there. And basically, like I was living stealth, so she only knew. And so, um, one of the other managers that I worked with, I mean, I couldn't get a hold of the woman I was dating, so I spoke with her over the phone and I outed myself. And she basically like told everybody that I worked with, and so I mean, it was like, and things were going bad at that job anyway. I mean, I was arguing with the manager about having us come in really, really early to make pie for the holidays. And so like that was the final straw. Like, I mean, things were just getting out of hand. So was let go from that job. And so, because I knew this woman that I worked with and I was dating or did date, she introduced me to her sister who was living in Ann Arbor, which, she lived in the co op system. And so I moved to Ann Arbor. I got a job at a bookstore in Ann Arbor. And I was working there for a year, but then I got bored and I realized that I wanted to get into the entertainment field. I just didn't know in what facet. So after a year of working at the bookstore, I took my escort and I drove to Berkeley to work at the bookstore for the book rush. And then I explained to him what I wanted to do. And so I said, he offered me a job, a continuing job. And I said, no, it's all right. I kind of want to go south to Los Angeles. So I went down to LA and I think I stayed in a hostel down there. But at any rate, I met two other people, one lady that stayed in the same hostel. And I told her I was trans, and she's like, "Oh, so you're not a real guy?" So, I'm like, "Okay, whatever." And she was very disappointed that I told her. And so, like, she said, "Well, why don't you try going to Seattle?" So I went to Seattle, um, stayed in a hostel up there, and boy, did it rain. Um, so then basically, I was living stealth. I didn't open up to anybody about being transgender. So I didn't really like plant roots anywhere. Like, I didn't go to doctors. I didn't go to anybody. Like I just basically went someplace. Lived very much stealth and basically ran out of money. And so then I called up my dad, who, my mom and dad knew that I was trans, so, and I told my dad, I'm like, Dad, I ran out of money. Can I come back and go to your school? And he said, now you're thinking. So he wired money to me so I could go back out to Michigan. Um, and, I was staying in an apartment with a friend of mine that I'd picked up along the way. That my dad supported an apartment for me to stay in, for us to stay in rather. And so I got a job back at the fast food restaurant, but just in a different area. And so I started, I believe, December or January, somewhere around there. Maybe even February. I don't recall like the exact dates. Um, so then I went to the school. I was real quiet the first day, just observing everybody to see like how to interact and whatnot. And I was quiet for the first couple days, and then I became like the class clown. I was cracking jokes, but not too much because I was supposed to be the model student. Um, and I'd say it was around March. I was having these strong feelings for this woman. I didn't think about eating. I obsessively thought about her. I could barely sleep. I dreamt about her. I dropped so much weight. Because I wasn't eating. And so then my dad was very supportive of me talking to her at first. But then once I quit the school because I couldn't, take like the feelings, and then I figured, first he was like, well, just sit in the corner and don't talk to anybody. You know what I mean? Here I was. I mean, I was friendly to everybody. I mean, I'm a people person. I mean, I'm not like an extrovert per se, but you know, I mean, I'm an outgoing introvert. You know, I mean, I like people. You know, and I mean, there's no way that I could have done that. You know, sitting in the corner and just not talking to anybody. I mean, no, it's not even possible. You know, so I mean, you know, once I quit, then you know, like he was all like, you know, don't be surprised if she's not interested and this and that, you know. So I mean, the strong feelings I was having wasn't enough for me to honestly believe, you know, that I could be 100% honest about how I felt. You know, I mean, I was still insecure. I mean, I was very insecure being transgender and that. And my dad basically feeding off that, saying, you know, don't be surprised if she's not interested, you know. And then she's like, well, if you find someone you get, and then he was like, if you find someone you really get along with, you won't come see me anymore, you know. And I was just like, like, you know, at this point in time, you know, I went from being painfully shy to talking to a therapist on a weekly basis, and I was in the habit of talking to myself constantly. And when I went to New York, I was talking to everybody I possibly could. You know, I mean, I was like, I don't know, like, I was just, I went crazy. I mean, I was insanely like talkative to everybody and anybody who would listen to me. And so I went to this drop in center and I met up with this dude and, you know, we, ran together for a while. Um, and then this girl came in, which you know I was kind of leery of her, but I mean I didn't say anything. I just kind of like gave her attitude, but you know it wasn't intentional. It was just like you know I don't know. She didn't give me good vibes, but at any rate, so basically it got to the point where you know I mean like you know they both were interested in each other, you know, which made me the third wheel. So at the end, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go back to Michigan, you know, after being coaxed, you know, and so I went back to Michigan. Well, everything got 10 times worse. Um, I mean, I got back into the area, you know, everybody was so glad to see me, this and that, you know, and so I stayed outside. I was sleeping outside um, on the street for a couple nights until I went into the fast food restaurant and one of my old managers offered her a place to stay until I got on my feet. And I mean, I took her up on it. You know, I'm like, okay, you know, I mean, it's either that or the elements. You know, who knows how long I'd be out there. And even at this point, like with me staying with them, I wasn't comfortable talking about my trans status with them. You know, I mean, like I was living scared. You know, was very closeted, very much closeted. Um, and so, like, before I had left, I had run into the school. Well, that's neither here nor there. She knows the story. Um, but, you know, basically, to make a long story short, I went up there once the first time to give my number to her, you know, and then, you know, that wasn't going to cut it. So I went up there a second time, half cocked, after being up all night writing a letter to her. And I was half cocked. So I just got into my manager's Jeep, who she let me use. And I went up there, saw her in the parking lot, and I was like, yeah, I'll tell her how I felt, but I didn't expect her to see her. I didn't expect to see her in the parking lot. And I just like got out of my car and I was like, you know, and the only thing I could muster out of my mouth was just give me a chance. And she ran into the school. I mean, obviously she didn't give me the chance, but she ran into the school. My dad caught me at the counter and he's like, "You want a car?" And I was pretty hopeless by that point. And I was like, "Yeah, whatever, sure." Just because like I just I don't know. I felt like I hit a big roadblock. And then after that, um, one of the times, like, I mean, okay, so it was my dad's idea to put out the PPO. Instead of just telling me to chill, and being like a caring father, he suggested a PPO be put out against me. So I violated it. I violated it the first time, in hopes to, well, at any rate, I violated it twice. The second time, um, I the state took over, so there was nothing anybody could do. And I was in jail for a month and a half. I was flipping out. Um, I was not comfortable, like, saying my trans status, and I didn't have my license on me for some reason. I don't remember why. But, like, basically, they put me in solitary. Well, at first, the first time I was arrested, they put me in in a holding cell with other biological guys. And so, like, I didn't use the restroom for at least 24 hours. Because there's just a toilet in a room. So I was just like, I've held it, for longer. So, I mean, just this one time, it's not going to be a big deal. So, yeah, it's, yeah, it was incredible. Like, until that point, I didn't even think that, I mean, I thought all the feelings that they have in music and stuff like that was just shit. I thought it was just a bunch of bullshit. And then it kind of made sense, and I was just like, "You got to be kidding me!" So, I mean, there's a definite connection there. So, um, but at any rate, so after that, um, I mean, I don't know if mental illness is in my family, and I don't know, like, it very well could be, like, the stress and all that stuff that brought out a mental illness. But, yeah, I mean, I've been in and out of jail, first because of that incident, and then after that, like, and after my mom passed away, but before she passed away, she, set up a trust for me to get, um, surgeries done. And to be honest, I've been floundering around from place to place, spending money here and there, and I mean, I was unable to get any of the surgeries. I mean, the only one that I have is the most important one. Well, one of them. And that was a chest surgery that my dad paid for. Um, but yeah, I mean, like, I was diagnosed with a mental illness, and from violating the PPO the second time, I was put on probation for 5 years. And it was hell. Um, and after that, like, from being stealth for so long, I decided to streak the neighborhood 3 times. The last time resulting in 6 months in jail. Um, and I mean, if anything came of that, like I learned patience. Um, being in and out of jail, like I flipped out the first time, I was in and out of suicide watch. I was tased. I was put in a restraint chair. Um, and there was an incident where the floor was wet and I slipped and my lower back hit the step in the holding cell and um, my back got jacked up after that. Like right now, I'm awaiting back surgery, um, which it's minimally invasive, so it shouldn't take long for me to heal. Um, and after that, um, while I was living with my mom, because I was living in Lansing for some time, and I was kind of falling in the wrong crowd, drinking, drugging, and my mom offered her place for me to stay as long as I paid rent, which was fine. And I decided while I was living with her that I would go to that broadcasting school again, but this time take film. And so, like, I don't know, I think it was a little less than a month from graduation, she broke the news that she was going to end her life. Um, and so I was shocked, but in the same note, like, I knew like she was. I just hope she's at peace now, which I think she is. She was never at peace. You know, um, kind of always playing the victim. So I mean, she probably honestly believed that. And so shoot up to the present or the more present. After all that jail stuff was done and over with, I mean, I'd been able to stay on my meds, and I decided, in between hospitalizations and stuff, I was living with a friend of the family, staying with her, and it was during a big snowstorm, and I decided, I'm just going to go to New York, you and that's where the girl was from that I fell madly in love with. But at any rate, that might, yeah, give more reason as to why I took a Greyhound there. But yeah, I was just like, you know what? My second love is music and singing. And so I decided to take a Greyhound to New York. And I'm just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to try it because if I don't, then I mean, in the back of my mind, I was hoping that I'd run into this young woman. But I mean, it's magical thinking and whatnot. So, but at any rate, I'd been able to get a place in Brooklyn. Um, that fell through because, well, the person on the lease came back. But aside from that, my psychiatrist cut my dose of medication in half, and with me, mate calling the shots. Um, and I ran out of food, and because I was like in psychosis, I was hospitalized, and then I was put onto Long Island. Stayed in a house that was used for an alternative to being hospitalized, and went on a website to find another roommate, and found a roommate, and stayed with him for about 7 months. Um, and he went on POF and he was like gone. So, I had to find a new place to stay. While I was in Brooklyn, I was looking up this recovery program, and I figured after the second roommate left that it would be just the perfect opportunity to go to this recovery program. And so I went there, and now I'm like bound and determined to live sober, no drugs, no alcohol. And I mean, like, I realized that, to get real people in your life, you have to be sober, ones that will have your back, and I'm hoping that with the time that I have here, um, I'll be able to acquire um, chosen family, as they call them, So, a family that you acquire if if your blood family is real strained, which mine was. So, but, yeah, I just want to say, I think that's pretty much everything I want to cover. Let me think. Oh, yeah. While I was going to the cosmetology school, um, there was a young woman that was kind of the underdog, and I just, I want to tell you, like, or her. I don't know who's gonna watch this. I don't know, but I think she graduated, and I hope she graduated, and I hope she's doing well. And like all the like back in my bar days, I know that I dated a lot and I threw around the L word a lot, and I didn't genuinely mean it because I didn't know what love was. I didn't have love growing up. I didn't know my head from my ass where the L word was concerned. And, like it was not my like I'm sorry, and it was certainly not my intention to hurt anybody. I'm sure that like I feel like, karma came back and hit me right in the ass because like I don't know. Things just came back to me tenfold, And, I just want to say that I hope all of you are living happily, and it was a pleasure knowing everybody at that club. And, I want the best for everybody, you know. So yeah, I think that's basically it. Um, so yeah, cheers to living sober. Um, so yeah, namaste. All right, peace.